I'm in a game. I'm in a game. Hello, I'm in the video with my daddy.
What's going on, everybody? So today we're going to be talking to Eric, and I'm going to let him plug all his channels right off the bat. But for the most part, he is the creator of this YouTube community, Hobby Time Modelers, on Facebook, and I believe there's a YouTube channel. So we're going to get to know a little bit more about this. So hopefully you guys enjoy the interview. What's going on, Eric?
Hey, how's it going?
So go ahead and plug all the channels and the Facebook page right off the bat.
Okay, so HTM, Hobby Time Modelers. It was kind of a spontaneous project, really. There was a couple of us that really needed a home, a place to hang our hats, kind of thing. So we were out there in the void. There was a lot of groups. There's a lot of modeling groups out there. But they seem very cliquish, and not in a bad way. I mean, they got their groups, they got their homies, whatever, sometimes it's really hard to fit in. So when you try in, you just feel like you're still right on the cusp, right? You're not really involved. You're just posting your stuff, and you get attaboys and whatever. We wanted more of a welcoming atmosphere, so we came up with Hobby Time Modelers. Buck from Buckman's Model Mania. Shu from Schuman's Model Shop, Don from Donnie Dotter's channel. You got Todd, Marvel Phoenix in his channel, and then of course myself. Now that is considered the core five. We are sort of the glue that started this and is holding everything together as the foundation of Hobby Time Modelers. We created a YouTube page right off the bat. And a Facebook page. The Facebook page is really where I'm not a big fan of Facebook, but in this instance, it kind of seems to work. Everything kind of gelled where we can throw out our idea of what a group would be like for family friendly, family orientated, and that was kind of a big deal to us. I have little kids; they're starting to get into modeling themselves, and I don't want to go to a place or be in a group that is throwing down the F-bomb every other word, or saying things that are inappropriate, or whatever the case may be. There needs to be a safe place for everybody, right? And as adults, we have the capability of acting like it. So instead of acting like, a bunch of children hyped up on sugar. So, that's the atmosphere that we're trying to collectively send out and let people know that there is a place that does exist like that. As for the numbers, we don't care, right? So the way the Facebook page is set up is that even non-members can post because we know that we don't want you to feel that you have to fill out an application or a form just to say hi to other people that are doing the same thing you are, right? So you don't have to sign up. You can just plug and play, and if you do like what you see, then sign up. I mean, there's really no bennies either way. It's just a group. If you sign up, then we can get a chance to know you better. You get the chance to know us better, because we lay it out there, whether it be on the Facebook, but specifically our YouTube channel. Our YouTube channel, we collectively send out to each individual channels of the core five when we stream. So it's streaming to my channel at the same time as Buck, same time Shu, Don, Todd. It all goes out there. Sometimes it gets a little confusing because you got separate chats for each. So if there's a person on, say, my channel that's saying, hi everyone, the people with us streaming, we can see it, but the person on Donnie's channel can't see what that guy says, right? So they can't really communicate back and forth, and that's something that we're still trying to figure out. But the way we have it set up as we stream, anybody can join, right? And you've done it a couple times yourself. We post a link as often as we can in the chat, and all you have to do is click on that link. Put in whatever name you need, as long as it's not offensive, and you're in. You start from the backstage. We see that there's people waiting, and then we can throw you into the stream, and then you could be a part of the magic that happens every Friday and Sunday. So, yeah.
So that was going to be my next question: is how often are you guys streaming? Because it seems like it's just 2 days a week now, right?
Yeah, right. Correct. It was just once. It was only Friday nights. And then we started talking about the idea of getting our UK brothers and sisters that model kind of involved as well. And the only way to do that is around the noon time, our time over here in the US, which is about 6:00 p.m. their time over in the UK. And it seemed to really mesh well during our Sunday streams, because we have a bunch of people from the UK join in, and they'll stay an hour or two. Then they start falling off because it's getting late on their end, and then we start getting some of the our Aussie brothers up in there after they leave. So it's a fun time all around. That's why on Friday nights we go from 8 p.m. to 10 p.m. Central Standard Time. On Sundays we go from noon Central Standard Time to whenever. There's no end. At that point, it ends when it ends, basically, and sometimes it's gone upwards of 7 hours, streaming. So, yeah, it's a blast.
So, Model Hobbyist, I think I put it in the description for the channel. If it's not there, just let me know and I'll add it to it after the broadcast. I thought it was on there, but maybe it's not. I don't know. I try to set these up so they're like that, but sometimes it doesn't work.
Hey, it happens.
And it's YouTube, because they don't like links to other channels in the. How do I say this? They don't like posting links to stuff, but then you get those like spam bots that can put links everywhere.
Right. Right.
And you're like, well, how the hell do they do that?
Yeah, I know. I don't understand it myself either.
Oh man. Okay. Yeah. But anyway, so Eric, what part of the country are you in?
North Dakota, Bismarck, North Dakota, specifically, up in the frozen north.
Nowhere. So what's the hobby scene like up there?
Okay, so modeling is not a big thing up here in North Dakota. You either work in the oil fields or you're a farmer. Okay, so there's not a lot of in between hobbyist type stuff going on. And now, in saying that, we do have our Hobby Lobby. It's not a large section. It has one aisle. Half of it's dedicated to models. The other half is dedicated to supplies or Metal Earth, connects and all that other stuff. So it's really very small. And then off on the side, there's another half aisle of model train supplies. So not very big. We have I can't even remember the names of these places, but we do have two other places. One is like a Warhammer shop, because that's primarily what they sell, but they sell Whiz Kids and a lot of the other miniatures and stuff like that. And that's a very dinky store. Then there is a kind of a model shop where you can get your hands on older models and whatnot, but the prices are So yeah, I've never been there. I have no intentions of going there and spending. If you wanted to like break the bank, go on eBay. You know.
Yeah, for sure, right? Like, yeah, yeah. eBay's great
Have you
place to
seen
find
some of the
like old
prices?
kits, but
Have
then
you
you're gonna,
seen some of the prices on like older models?
yeah,
Let me bring up some. Oh my goodness, some Star Trek say models, ones that were produced in the early '90s. They're just insane prices at this point. Uh, and then you got people that collect. They don't build it; they collect it. Oh, this will be worth something, And modelers like myself are like, uh, but I could build that. What are you doing? It's just gonna collect dust.
yeah. That's a topic all on its own, right?
Oh yeah.
Right.
Oh, it is, Yeah.
Because yeah, but there's how do I say this? There's you got to have that fine line of not being a collector, but you have to collect a little bit just to keep your stash going, right?
It's usually and that usually happens like inadvertently, right? So you're getting these models and you're getting them like a just in case, right? Just in case this thing goes like south and it's not being sold anymore, or it whatever, or the price on it goes like insanely high. So you want to grab certain things that you have like personal interest into, but you don't want to go, like you said, there's that line. You don't want to go overboard, and then you have like this mound that you'll never get to. You're never going to get to, right? So, and miniature painters are just as bad, because miniatures aren't really all that expensive if you're talking like Reaper Minis or Whiz Kids or things like that. You can get like just a bunch and start collecting them. Now you got this big pile of plastic figures that you'll probably never paint.
Speak for
So,
yourself. Hey, speak for yourself.
right. Okay. I know you're a mini painter. I get it.
Because, and this is my big bad. There's like I'll prime like a bunch of like Warhammer stuff. Just prime it, and it'll sit on the shelf for a while until I figure out what I'm going to paint it. Then I'll pull that section out, paint it, get the next section up there. Like, yeah, you can really, yeah.
I've never
I leave
done
to
the
try.
speed painting. I've never done that. I've never done like armies, right? Like, for like Warhammer as example, have like 10 space marines. They're basically the same, just in different poses. And then have, prime that one, prime this one, prime that one, and then go back and, I'll paint this blue, 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 blue. I've never done that. I don't know. I think that would just get so monotonous after a while.
Right. So what is it that you mostly like to build?
Okay, that open ended. It's really hard to pinpoint, because when I got back into modeling, 4 or 5 years ago, um, I started out with the 50th anniversary TOS uh, model, and I built it up, loved it. And then, of course, I built a few other models at the same time. But it was like, it was a Huey. Then there was the Bandit Trans Am. So I was kind of like, I was kind of all over the place. But I was really, there was kind of a method to my madness, so to speak, because I didn't know exactly what I did like. I just got back into it, right? And after a hiatus from, I started doing it in the early 90s and stopped when I joined the Army back in 95. And then there was that huge long hiatus in between, to about 4 or 5 years ago. So it was just like, well, what do I like, right? Because even back then it was like, oh, this looks cool. I build it. It's done. And I just go on to something else that looked cool. I thought it was more sci-fi when I first started getting back into it. So it was a lot of Star Trek build-ups, and I built a lot of Star Trek models. Uh, then I tried getting into the cars, and they're okay. But even they kind of get a little monotonous because everything's the same except the chassis and the color of it, right? So I mean, it's still the motor, drivetrain, seats, steering wheel, whatever. So you're kind of painting the same thing. So I just kind of thought that was meh for me. Then Buck from Buckman's Model Mania came along. Yes, if he's watching, I'm throwing him under the bus. He got me into ships. Now, if I had to narrow it down, ships, specifically warships, is my thing. Now, I haven't done a lot of them, but I love the look of them. I'm having fun building them. Matter of fact, I'm building the USS Arizona right now, so that's in current production. I have a 1/350th Bismarck that's waiting in the wings. So I mean, that's, I think, would probably be my passion right now. Is definitely ships.
And that's kind of cool how you guys are kind of all over the place too. It's not just like cars, figures, boats. I think one of your guys even does I think the main thing you guys are all into is those Eagle Moss kits.
Yeah, the Pat works.
Yeah, it's like you all seem to enjoy those.
I actually just got into it, doing R2D2, and it's a half scale. But like Todd, from Marvel Phoenix, is doing the Iron Man. He's doing Kit from Knight Rider, and they just look amazing, right? I mean, he does other things. He actually did what are they called? Those 3D puzzle model kits, right? And it was of the Flying Dutchman, came with the lights and stuff like that, and he did that. That was wicked cool. But yeah, we like the fact that we do a lot, as in terms of a variety of genres within the modeling community. That was another reason, I guess, when we were looking at groups, like, okay, we're going to join. This is pre-HTM, which we're going to join. And there was a lot of groups that were very hyper-focused. This one was, 1/200 scale ships. This one was all cars. This, you know what I'm saying? So, I mean, they had their niche, and which is fine. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that. It's just that we had, as a collective, we just had a broader scope of what we built, right? So if we joined, say, like just a car only type group, I'm sure the guys would have been great, but what are we going to post? Somebody's doing the Queen Mary 2, another one's doing the Bird of Prey, this one's doing the Bismarck or whatever. Where we're going to post? Allowed to post, right? Because this is for cars only. So a lot of groups get very upset if you post something other than what they want you to post. So
you're not wrong on that.
Yeah, right. And so at HTM, Hobby Time Modelers, you post what you're working on. You post what you like. We're not gonna hold anybody back. For doing this. We're all modelers. I think we can all also agree that we like building models. And that is a very general statement, and we like to keep it that way.
Well, and it seems like the hobby every so often not changes, but everybody like shifts 45 degrees to something else. You know what I mean? Like the hobby is like a big round circle, and everybody seems to shift 45 degrees, and then just keeps going around till they get back to what. Or they'll go back, and then they'll go back to what they were doing, right?
And you know what? There's reasons for this, because when you're doing, say, miniature painting, sometimes you get to a point where it's not necessarily burnout, but your brain has been telling you for the last couple of weeks, dude, try something different. Put this aside. Don't quit. Just put it aside, do something else, and then come back to it with a refreshed, sense of, all right, I know what I can do. I'm happy doing it. Because, see, that's another key. If it starts becoming where you're like, it's a chore to model, take a break. back up a little bit. Don't quit it outright. Just back up a little bit. Take a deep breath. And when you come back, you're like, okay, I got a fresh mind. Let's do this, right? So, yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, you could probably relate to this having kids, but like this is like my mental like I'm fried and I need to do something with the that's not, you know what I mean?
Okay, so I have 5 kids. I have
Oh.
a 20, 17, 8, and 2 sevens. And I know it sounds like a poker hand. But the 20 and the 17-year-old, they live currently in South Carolina, and of course the other 3 are in the household. So um, it's stressful in its own right being a parent, but
Yeah.
nothing obviously we can't handle. What it's not a main part of HTM, but we do have a lot of veterans, myself included. Um, I've been, previously diagnosed with PTSD, a TBI, which is a traumatic brain injury. I had equipment fall on me while I was serving on active duty. Um, Back repaired, shoulder repaired, ankle repaired twice. So there's a lot of like emotional, there's a lot of memory issues and stuff like that. But when it comes to the modeling, there's a certain level of I'm able to focus. I'm able to jump out of this, chaos and kind of come into where there's nothing. This is a protected bubble kind of thing, right? And that again, this is just how I kind of perceive my own personal modeling. It helps with that level of stress. So when I actually, okay, I got to get out of my bubble, kids need me or, whatever needs to be done, I have a little bit more of a, I can do this, kind of thing. So, yeah.
So did the Army get you into the hobby, or were you into it like as a kid?
I was into it, not as a kid. I was into it late teens. So basically, it was around 91 to 95 was my first introduction to it. And when I signed up on a delayed entry program in late of 94, I was gone early 95 to boot camp. And that was all she wrote. Modeling wasn't even on the radar. I was too busy raising hell, all across the country. And that's another story for another campfire, but it's right. So, yeah.
No, it just sometimes you hear about like the military suggesting the hobby to, ex veterans, right? That's why I was curious on that.
Oh, well, in that instance, yes. Matter of fact, the UK has a program, models for heroes.
Yeah.
I think okay, so you've heard of it. So they have a program over there, and they're very active in the community. I am not aware of any such program here in the States. There are other things, non-modeling, that veterans have access to.
And I will say this, I would love that program to come here.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. There's no place to donate. Well, not in North Dakota anyways. There could be in different states, but here in North Dakota, even if I wanted to donate models or even like, have a sit down, just get a couple benches, some chairs, and just start working on a model, and any veteran can come and sit down, at the hospital or whatever, and just like plug away at it. You don't even have to finish it, just sit down, BS, glue a couple things, call it a day.
So there's at least here, there's one of the groups that they used to get together at, like, it's called a veterans VA retirement home.
Mm-hmm.
And they would meet because they had this big, huge banquet room, because they would have some of the military. Well, the military bases is kind of near there too, but
right.
They would get like 8 of them together, and they would all bring the kit they're working on and then something else if someone else showed up from the retirement center that they could have something to work on.
See, beautiful, right?
Yeah, that's why I got really, really involved with that group. It was super cool. Now COVID happened and that kind of all went away, but
if I didn't have littles, and the amount of responsibility I currently have now, which sometimes does interfere with modeling, because it's always a family first mentality, right? Modeling is just that. It's just, you can pick it up, put it down, whatever it is. It's not important enough to put above, family. So it's always family first. But if I didn't have the littles, I would totally contact Modeling for Heroes over in the UK and say, hey, look, let's get something started and have like a US, chapter open, under you guys. And I think it would take off, in my personal opinion. I speak to many veterans, and the one thing that they always tell me is that they don't have an outlet, for their stress, for their, so I do consider myself lucky that, I was able to, watch a couple random videos on YouTube and go, hey, maybe I should do that again. I remember doing that, before the service. Yeah, I should do it again. And then of course, here we are 5 years later. I'm right in the thick of things. I'm doing a patchwork. I got models going everywhere, so yeah.
No, I mean, that's really, really cool. And I, like I said, it's really awesome, that the hobby helps in those situations. Cause I know stress level for me, if I'm not out here, at least after the 3rd week, I'm told to come out here.
You don't even have a choice.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. So what is some of the tools that you like to use?
Nothing specific. Being a disabled veteran.
And Eric, that's a boring question, just so you know, or boring answer, just so you know.
This is a boring answer. Tight budget means cheap stuff, and but it's actually been kind of fun because I've like, okay, I hear these guys talk about Tamiya this and blah blah blah, Vallejo and all this other stuff, right? So I look at the dollar store, which is right down the street, and I'm like, okay, so I think of it as a like a budget type minded person. It's down the street, I can even walk there. It's only going to cost $1, to try out glue or tweezers, and that could be found in the nail section. There are containers that are also in the nail section in the dollar store that work perfectly to put like little extra pats, or if you're working on a patchwork model, you got little sections for screws and stuff like that. And again, it's only $1. Now, in saying that, I have tested out 3 different types of glues from the dollar store, and they all suck. Okay, so one came out and it was like snot. It was just this like goopy, stringy. I'm like, how do you even? What is this? Right? Is this a science experiment that they just wrote glue on? So I wouldn't suggest ever getting glue from there. But if you want a cheap set of tweezers, they bend easy. But if you want a cheap set of tweezers, dollar store. Containers, dollar store. Sandpaper. They do have sanding stuff, dollar store. So, they're not name brands. To answer your question. So, I kind of use just a variety of whatever cheap stuff I can get my hands on.
No, I'm the same way, dude. I understand that. Like, I don't shop like the craft section in like Walmart, you know what I mean? But then you go over to like beauty section in Walmart and it's like 3 times cheaper. Almost the same product.
Because it's not under craft, right? It's
right.
labeled as something else, so hence it's cheaper. So yeah.
So I mean, do you have any expensive tools?
I do not. And
Okay.
nothing that would spark anybody's like, I'm going to sit on the edge of my seat and listen to this guy. Not really. I have a lot of stuff. Yes, Buck. Yes, I do. Yes, wall mud. Okay, so there you go. There we go. So when doing my first diorama, I was doing the 1/650 scale, the 50th anniversary edition of the Enterprise, the TOS. And it sat on my shelf for a week, and that was as long as it took for me to go, I got other plans for you. So, and of course, I decided to crash it into a diorama, and I was like, a crash ship, wreck starship. I said that'd be perfect. Love it. And I was like, I've watched all these videos, right? And people are using like this very expensive, like, oh, you can make this, and this brand is for this specifically, and ching, 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 ching. And I was like, nah, there's got to be a different way. And I was like, hey, I got some leftover wall mud from that renovation we just did. I said, shoot, I bet that worked. And sure enough, it did. So that's been like my go-to now, for any type of diorama work. I'll be using it on
Oh.
if you liquefy it a little bit. Yeah, come on, Donnie, really? All right, so don't forget laptop chargers.
Well, that's staying up there. I know the story. I heard about it last week.
Okay. Well, you know the story then, and it is awesome that only one LED blew. It still works to this day. I don't know how, but it does. So, but yeah, I use what I can. You just have to be inventive, when it comes to modeling, because you don't have to be forced into a corner to buy and spend tons of money on brand names. You might not. I mean, you're not getting the quality of these items, and I'll be the first one to admit it. However, you could still make it work. And I have, for me, I have proven to myself that those things do work, cheap or not.
So what type of paint are you using?
Oh, yes. Okay. So mostly it's craft, right? So you got like Apple Barrel, Deco Art, things like that, Americana. This is stuff that you can find anywhere. I don't know if the dollar store has it, but obviously at Walmart, you got the paints there in that section. Sometimes you can find them for cheap, 99 cents, 50 cents, whatever, and you get a decent sized little container. My favorite paints are Reaper paints, and they work amazing. They lay down really nice. They're almost, it's like they're pre-thinned to some degree already. Once you shake them up, it's just goes from the pot to the model, and it works out good. I'd have to say the Reaper paints are probably my favorite paints.
No, I mean, that's cool. That's a good paint line too. It is a good paint line. But they're on the cheaper side of that scale. It's not like the Citadel. You know what I mean? Like the Citadel, yeah, where it's like 1 ounce little pot is like $6.
Oh yeah, and I priced them out, and
they're like, 8.
It's nuts, and I'm sure the paint's fine or whatever. I've never actually personally used them. Well, thank you, Buck. Sometimes I amaze myself too, so you're not alone.
So are you using an airbrush at times when you're doing the big? Are you just doing paintbrush?
Okay, so like the bigger stuff, I started out with rattle can, but okay. I started realizing that there's limitations with rattle cans, whether it be Duplicolor, Krylon, Rust-Oleum 2X. And Rust-Oleum 2X seems to be the one that I was using the most. And I have a whole 2 shelves in the paint room for it. But it goes on thick, so you can't really adjust that. It comes out the way it comes out, You know, you do the best you can to heat up the bottle a little bit, you know, in warm water, shake it up really good, you know, do a couple test spritz, you know, so if it's going to lay down some little balls of paint or whatever, it'll do it on your test paper or the side, and then you go to it. I have, in saying that, I do have an airbrush. And I bought this a year after I got into back into modeling. The company is called Go Shear. It's an off-cut brand that I got on Amazon. It was at the time, 4 years ago, it was like $45. Came with a square air compressor, red button on, red button off. So there's no adjustments, you know. So whatever it shoots, it's going to shoot, right? I did the 50th anniversary Enterprise, and I shot that with its final coat with the airbrush, and I was very impressed until I bent the tip of the needle, and that was right at the end of finishing the model itself. So I was like, well, I was frustrated. I don't have any other needle, right? So that kind of sat on the bench until I figured out, watched some YouTube videos, and I was like, oh, okay, I know how to repair it. I repaired it, haven't used it since. But Donnie was able to, he had a spare air compressor, an actual tank compressor.
Okay.
And I was able to get that from him. But yet I haven't actually tested it out as of yet. The first testing will be on the Bismack, which is lined up to be on the bench soon. So that'll be airbrushed. So I'm trying to get away from what I started with, which was brush, craft acrylics, to a mixture of rattle can and brush, to airbrush and brush. So, you know, my brushing is in fine details, and I can airbrush the rest of it. Fingers crossed. Anyways, that's how plans of mice and men.
No, I mean that's cool. I mean, you're making it work. I mean, that's more to it. I mean,
giddy up.
I've got probably 5 airbrushes, I think now, and the one that I use the most is my Posh H. I mean, that thing is bulletproof,
right?
Absolute bulletproof.
Hey, I've listened to the guys talk about their airbrushes and whatnot that they've gotten, and it's kind of cool because each person settles in with a particular brush, not from a particular company, but like, this brush from that company, he's fine, and then this guy, he likes this company or whatever, like Badger or whatever, Then there's the people that can afford the Heider Steinbach. I don't know if I said that right. Like the upper echelon, you need to have Elon Musk type money. It's about.
Well, I mean, yeah, right. I and then there's, what is it? Iwata, Badger.
Yep. Yeah.
So.
And they're all.
I don't have any Iwata, but I have a bunch of the Badger stuff, and I have a Posh H. And the Posh H is mostly used because I can go from anything, any type of paint, and I can get it to go through the Posh H.
Wow. No problem. Joke.
Yeah. It's like how I was introduced to that airbrush. Do you know what furniture glue is?
Not off the top of my head, no.
It's kind of like contact cement, kind of.
Oh, so it's thicker.
Yeah, you can spray that through the Posh H. You have to thin it down a little bit.
Dang.
And that stuff will flow through there. That's how I was introduced to that airbrush.
Wow.
Because you just spray it on there and then just pull and you're done.
Wow. Yeah, that's pretty cool. Well, I know I got some stuff to try and help me out when I do kick in the airbrush. I bought a 3-pack of Stynal Res primers.
Okay.
Spence from Spencer Wolf's channel, really good friend of mine. He suggested doing that, and it came with white, gray, and the black for the primers. And he says they're pretty much it's ready to spray. right? There's not really, you can thin it, I guess he said, with I don't know, there's a thinner that you can buy for
So
airbrush.
I would with the Stynylrez, just use a little bit of water.
Water, nice. Okay.
With the white, I always have to thin it just a little bit to get it to flow. But I mean, you're at 35 psi, so you know.
See, that's the other thing. I've never used an actual tank compressor where there's adjustments, so that'll be kind of like a learning curve as well. Not a steep one, but trying to adjust and get things right. Whereas the compressor that I started with was you turn it on, and whatever there's no psi gauge, so whatever it's pumping out, it's pumping out, right? You just can't adjust it.
Well, but you were talking about the Harbor Freight one, right?
No, the Amazon one.
The Amazon one. If some of those, if you look under the gauge, there's like a little turn thing.
Okay.
And you can adjust the pressure on those. Some of them. I know at least on some of the ones I've seen. You can adjust the pressure on those.
See, and that's what I'd like. That's what I like. I don't have now. I also learned before I even did it, I was told not to. That there's, I guess, the tip and the needle kind of go together, right? So you can't have a tip that you used with a 0.3 and then put a 0.5 and expect it to work. At least that's what I'm gathering. So it's that. Okay, so I'm correct on that. So you got to have the tip and the thing. So I have a 0.3 needle and a 0.5 needle, but I only have one tip, and I can't remember which one that's for. So it'll be interesting to find out.
No, you'll find out real quick. No, but also with like the Stynylrez, you can brush paint that on too. A lot of people don't know that.
I did actually.
You can brush it on and it'll lay like flat.
Wow, no brush strokes.
Nope.
Wow.
That stuff. I love that stuff for figures.
Well, that's why Spence was just drooling over it, just talking about it, and I was like, all right. I said, I'll get it. I'll get it. And I did, and I can't wait to test it out.
No, and then I like if I'm really gonna do a big like a bunch of stuff and it's cold out here, like I'll warm up the Stynylrez in hot water, and it's like butter.
Wow. See, now my paint booth is in the furnace room, so I mean it's just naturally warm all year round, anyways. Oh, yeah. in that room, and which is where I keep it. But
yes. Yeah, see, I'm sitting in my garage, so whatever temperature's outside is inside. So, unless it's like 90 degrees outside, then it's like 110, 115 in here, and then I ain't airbrushing nothing.
I'm sure you got a little space heater or something, right?
Well, it's not little by any means, but that white thing on the floor.
Oh yeah,
round it. Yeah, that's one of the space heaters I have.
Oh, giddy up! Does it work pretty good? Heats up the room.
That's the one from Harbor Freight. So it will change this room from 50 degrees to 75 within 10, 15 minutes.
Wow. See, and a lot of people don't accept Harbor Freight as being an actual, good company to buy from. But that right there, man, I'd buy one.
I don't remember what I paid for it. I don't think I spent over $50 for it.
Right.
So,
right.
But, I also don't mind spending a little bit on tools sometimes.
Sometimes you got to.
Yeah.
Especially if you're in like a specific, whatever, because I know that you 3D print, and maybe you need like certain tools to better, that with.
No, I mean, that's a lot of it's just getting, I mean, realistically, this is the most expensive hobby tool that I have.
The air booth.
I didn't pay. To buy that brand new. It's like $500-600. I didn't spend that for it, but that's the most expensive thing I have, and I own it's the refills for the top part of it are like, what do you call it? I call it like a liner that goes on top. So you just replace the liner.
Oh yeah.
And that is $50 for a big freaking roll of it. And it just sits on the back of it. You could just pull it through. Yeah. Supposedly it's supposed to work out. I've never used it because I always take those like furnace. It's 15 by 20. So I just go get a 15 by 20 like furnace or AC duct.
Yep, those AC filters.
And I just set that on it.
Well, and that right there, that's a good cost saver,
Yeah, but see, I only paid $60 for that air brew station.
That is not bad at all. That is not bad at all. When I first got into it, I really wanted to buy an air booth, and I got so irritated at the cheapest one I found was like 140, and this was like 4 years ago or something, and it was similar to that. But a guy like me who has $150, to just like slap towards an air booth. So I was like, you know what? Screw it. I'll build one. So I did, and then I built two. I have a small one that's out of had really thick corrugated cardboard, and then the other one is probably a good 3.5 feet long by like 2.5 feet tall. And it's all made out of wood, plywood, just spare wood kicking around. I didn't pay 1 penny for any of that stuff. I just had it all kicking around, decided that, you know what, I'll make my own damn air booth. And
sometimes you have to, just because you need it really for your health. But,
right.
But really, I mean.
The wooden one, I'm still working on it. I was like, well, how am I going to vent? What's the best way to vent? So I was looking at different, if a dryer unit, let's say, is far away from where it ports out to the outside, you can get, it's a fan specifically made to hook onto one hose, hook onto this hose, and it boosts the air, so it can travel that distance outside. So I was looking at those, and I was like, okay, those are sparkless, but then I was like, well, I'm not using lacquers. I'm not using enamels. These are acrylic, water-based. So I said I should be all right.
So the thing that I will say there, and he's not wrong, but when you're using rattle can, you really have to be careful with that.
True.
Some of that stuff can arc with a rattle can.
Yes, and I took that into consideration with this build. So I decided what vent could vent and light at the same time and be good at it. We remodeled our kitchen, so I grabbed the hood over the stove, and now it's on top of my paint booth, my wooden paint booth.
Oh, okay.
Because if there's anything that's not going to be harmful, I mean, it deals with heat and moisture and all that other stuff all day long. Hopefully it'll do good for this. I haven't tested it out yet because I'm still, doing the wiring and whatnot. But it's got all the switches, switch on the light, switch on the fan, got high, low, depending on what you're doing. Works, works.
And that's all that really matters at the end of the day.
If you've ever heard of a shade tree mechanic, I feel like I am one. I used to be one before I went into service anyways, fiddle fatting around on my trucks and whatnot back in the country. But in modeling, I think sometimes it's more fun to figure out how to accomplish your goal than it is to just accomplish your goal, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
For me anyways, it's thinking up stuff, work with what you have, first and see if you can make it work. Sometimes you can't. There are times where I'm just like, there's just no way. I'm going to have to buy X, Y, and Z to make, to get it through. But yeah, there's other times where I just kind of sit back and I'm just pleased with myself going, hey, I did that.
Right. So we're almost to an hour.
Well, hopefully I didn't gab your ear off too much.
Nah, you're fine, dude. We're fine. If there's one thing that you would say about your group, what would you say? And we'll kind of
They're my family, plain and simple. I just, some people you really connect to. You get to know them, and not just know them like what are your likes and dislikes. Hey, he does models, I do models. That's great. We can talk about that, talk about the weather. But there's a deeper sense even below that, where there's, a lot of your personal and intimate life, gets shared back and forth. You kind of at that point know that this is more on a family level than it is just an acquaintance, over the airwaves here. So, family, yeah, I treat them all. I treat them all like family. They hate it. They're stuck with me.
Like when you guys are kind of poking fun at each other, you kind of get that sense because you guys are not very nice when it comes to some of that stuff.
No,
You know what I mean?
we're
You guys
basically
go,
epically
"What?"
brutal. If you don't have lizard skin, that might not be the time to step in on your first stream.
Right.
Because we will treat you just like we treat everybody else. We will never take it that far, right? So I mean, it's just common sense. Don't say anything that will offend somebody until after So
But I mean, it's a really good group that you guys can all be like that, and it's not a big like drama session at the end of this episode. I guess is what I'm trying to say. It's a really good tight group.
Yeah, and we want to make that sense, of what we just described, available to everybody. And that was the primary goal of HTM, is to make that accessible. Now we do understand that there's a lot of modelers that do modeling that like to show their stuff, but they're very shy, right? So they're very introverted, which I'm not. So I love just meeting new people. I love starting conversations and whatnot, and again, anybody is welcome to join the streams, and to chit chat with other people and not just be sort of a fly on the wall. This is your opportunity as a community to really take that next step forward, and if you wanted to be, a part of something, or even just stop in and say hi, doors open.
Well, and that's why I think once everybody kind of gets heard of your group, you guys are going to take off, I think, because you've got a really good group there.
I appreciate that, and I know the guys. I know the guys that are listening appreciate that too. Those are some kind words. As for taking off, it kind of is what it is. We know that not every group is made for everybody, and we never push HTM out there like some groups do because they want that 1,500 people or whatever. We want people that care about what they do, care about others, and feel safe in that environment, that you're not going to get attacked, you're not going to get because I know there's a lot of model elitists out there that, God forbid, you showcase a model and oops, it's not that shade of paint in real life, and they flame you for it, right? Been there, done that. I've seen it happen. So that's what not to expect. We don't do that. We know that everybody is at their own different level of skill, and to appreciate the fact that even though their skill isn't like yours, they still tried and they're doing their best and they had fun doing it. Major point right there. They had fun. So it's encouraging one another.
And all that you just said is why I think your group will be really, really good for everybody. Because
thank you.
It's such a cool group of guys. I know I got you and Donnie on here first, and I want to get Buckman's model Mania on here, but I'm going to do that later, so it's not back to back to back, right?
Right.
But I'll get some of the others on here too, because y'all have a different aspect of the hobby that's really, really unique.
Oh, the perspectives, of, like you said, just the different perspectives of it, and the different personalities. Here's the one thing, thanks, Rick. The different personalities you would think in any other environment would clash, right? But instead of clashing, we made it work. We meshed it together, and it was just, I don't know. It's a beautiful thing sometimes, There's times where I'll have like a rough week, and I'm like, oh, I don't know if I'm going to do Friday night. It's just been really tough mentally, physically, whatever. And the wife's like, no, you really got to do it. I'll come on and do it. And after 2-3 hours, man, I'm like, this, I feel better. I'm great. It's like, and I needed that. Right. So that's bonding is cemented. And I just wish other people out there that don't have that to experience what we experience. Blue, how's it going, buddy?
Absolutely. No, so we've almost hit that hour mark. Did you have any questions for me?
None at all, other than saying thank you for having me on. I had a great time. Again, I love chit-chatting, answering questions.
Well, I try not, I try to give you guys an opportunity to ask me some things because I get to do it for an hour, right? So it's always fair.
Look, okay, no, for real, Hobby Time Modelers, I've been trying, as a personal project, kind of side note, I've been trying to get together like a podcast going that is on YouTube. And I know that sounds weird, YouTube being a video platform, but I'm trying to do a podcast. But I do a podcast, and the first 2 were pretty successful. I started thinking of doing similar things like what you are doing, interviewing just different models, here and there, and just kind of letting them showcase their stuff, asking questions, how, and blah, blah, blah. You would be a perfect candidate. And for once, you would be in the other chair, and I would be like shooting questions at you.
Right.
So we'll have to hook up. We'll talk about it. My people will contact your people. We'll do lunch sometime.
Yeah. Try to make that work. We will try to make that work.
Okay, so Blue, for model kit, I don't have like huge model kits. I am doing the R2, which is a half scale, but it's a patchwork model, and that is in the process. But that's also going to take a long time, because I think it's like a 2-year span. So you get it every month, blah blah blah. So putting that aside, the Bismarck, the 350 scale Bismarck, that's what I'm really chomping at the bit to stat. I've been wanting to do the Bismarck model since I tried modeling back in the early 90s. So.
No, that's cool. All right, man. Well, if you don't really have any, I don't really have any more questions for you. We've pretty much covered it all.
No, you did a good job, man.
Oh wait, what's your Grail kit?
Oh, hey, here we go. Okay, so I don't know if they make it. All right, so way back when, I hand built my own wooden version of, it was a 1/96 scale USS North Carolina, and it was over 4 feet long. And I did it out of wood, cut out the keel because it was a straight keel, cut out all the ribs. Everything was made out of wood, and then balsa sheeting, for the metal, and then of course styrofoam and 1/4-inch ply for all the superstructure and whatnot. I'll have to throw a picture up on Facebook, the last remaining surviving pictures anyways that I have. But it would be the USS North Carolina. as my all-time Grail kit. And if they made it in 200 scale, I would find a way. Okay, I have twins. I could sell one, right, to make the money to get this kit.
Hey, I'm just gonna say this right now. You might want to ask the wife first.
Right, I can sell her too. It doesn't matter. She can go with.
Man, all right, I'm not gonna touch that one.
Right?
No,
oh, Missouri, nice.
No, but yeah, thank you for coming on today.
Appreciate you having me.
And I will talk to you in a couple minutes. I'm gonna end this, and then we'll, I don't know, and then we'll. All right.
All right. Peace out.
All right, everybody. So that was Eric, and we were talking about Hobby Time Modelers this week. Yeah, Brian, you missed it. Luckily there's a rerun. But I will see you guys next week. I can't remember off the top of my head if it's Saturday or Sunday this week. But I will see you guys next weekend. Bye.